The envelope hit the polished oak table like a gunshot in a confessional. Christian's hands trembled as he unsealed it, the crisp paper slicing through years of buried silence. "You're dead to us." His father's voice echoed from that final night. But now, in the dim light of his cramped Brooklyn apartment, those words cracked open like a fault line, revealing the lies that had entombed him alive. Gabriel watched from the doorway, his heart a storm of fury and fear, knowing this wasn't just revenge, it was resurrection. Christian Hale had vanished from Willow Creek, Georgia, on a sweltering August evening in 2015, or so the town believed. The Hale family, pillars of Southern respectability, with their sprawling antebellum home on Magnolia Lane and Daddy's seat on the county board, had spun a tale as tight as a funeral shroud. A tragic hiking accident in the Smokies, they said. No body recovered, but prayers were said at First Baptist, casseroles delivered to the door, and life marched on. Whispers of scandal were drowned in sweet tea and scripture, because the Hales didn't do mess. Especially not the kind that involved their golden boy coming out as gay at 17, screaming it in the kitchen after his father caught him kissing Tommy Reynolds behind the bleachers. But Christian wasn't dead. He'd fled with nothing but a backpack, $50 stolen from his mother's purse, and a rage that burned hotter than Georgia asphalt in July. He hitched rides north, sleeping in Greyhound stations, until New York swallowed him whole. A concrete jungle where no one gave a damn about your last name or your lost one. He crashed on couches in the village, waitressed at dive bars in Hell's Kitchen, and learned to love the anonymity. It was there, in the neon haze of a West Village coffee shop 3 years later, that he met Gabriel Ortiz. Gabriel was everything Willow Creek wasn't, unapologetically queer, with a laugh that cut through the city's din like sunlight on the Hudson. A graphic designer from Queens, son of Dominican immigrants who'd fled Trujillo's shadow. He had warm brown eyes that held stories of quiet revolutions, protests in Washington Square, murals on bodega walls. They bonded over bad espresso and worse poetry slams, Christian spilling fragments of his past like broken glass, Gabriel listening without judgment, his hand always finding Christian's under the table. "You're not broken, Chris," Gabriel murmured one night, their bodies tangled in the sheets of his tiny loft, the city humming below like a lullaby. "You're just on pause." Until you hit play, love bloomed fierce and fast, the kind that stitches wounds you didn't know were bleeding. Gabriel taught him to trust again, to laugh without looking over his shoulder. They built a life in the margins. Weekend getaways to Fire Island, where Christian shed his ghosts on sandy dunes. Lazy Sundays cooking arroz con pollo in their kitchen. Gabriel's hips swaying to Bad Bunny while Christian chopped onions, tears mixing with laughter. For the first time, Christian felt seen, not as the Hale heir, not as the family shame, but as himself. Chris. Artist. Lover. Yet the past clawed back. It started with a letter from Aunt Lydia, the black sheep who'd always slipped him extra allowance and copies of Audre Lorde under the dinner table. Postmarked from Savannah, it arrived on a gray October morning in 2023, tucked into a stack of bills. "Your daddy's sick," it read, in her looping cursive. "Cancer. And the family's built an empire on sand. I kept these for you. Use them if you ever come home." Inside, a manila folder thick as a Bible, stuffed with bank statements, emails, and notarized affidavits. Proof that Harlan Hale, the upright deacon, had siphoned county funds for years, Kickbacks from developers turning Willow Creek's wetlands into strip malls. Bribes to silence environmental reports. The Hale Foundation, their charitable front for family values, was a laundering machine for it all. And worse, a hidden clause in the family trust, forged after Christian's disappearance, declaring him legally deceased to cut him out of the inheritance. They'd erased him on paper, just like in their hearts. Christian's stomach twisted as he pored over the pages by lamplight, Gabriel reading over his shoulder. "This could bury them," Gabriel said softly, his voice an anchor in the rage. "But at what cost? You sure you want to drag that poison back into your life?" Christian's jaw set, eyes hardening like flint. "They killed me once. Time to make it stick." The decision simmered for weeks, pot on low boil. Gabriel worried, saw the shadows under Christian's eyes, the way he'd wake gasping from dreams of his father's belt, the sharp crack echoing like thunder. But love isn't a spectator sport. Gabriel packed the briefcase himself, kissed Christian's knuckles raw the night before their flight south. "Whatever happens, mi amor, you're coming back to me. We're in this." They landed in Atlanta at dawn, rented a nondescript sedan, and drove the 2 hours to Willow Creek under a sky bruised purple. The town unfolded like a faded postcard. White picket fences, Confederate oaks dripping Spanish moss, the air thick with pine and prejudice. Christian's pulse thrummed as they passed the high school football field, where he'd once been king, now a stranger in his own skin. Gabriel squeezed his thigh, a silent vow. The Hale house loomed at the end of Magnolia Lane, its columns gleaming white against the encroaching dusk. Porch lights flickered on as they pulled up, gravel crunching like bones under tires. Christian stepped out, briefcase in hand, the weight of it heavier than any grave. Gabriel lingered by the car, his presence a shield. The door swung open before Christian could knock. There stood his mother, Evelyn, frilier than memory, her pearls clutched like a rosary. "Chris?" Her voice cracked, a ghost of the woman who'd baked him pecan pies and whispered Bible verses over bedtime stories. "I'm not dead, Mama," he said, the words a blade. "But you buried me anyway," she gasped, hand flying to her mouth. And then Harlan was there, gaunt, hooked to an oxygen tank, his once booming voice a rasp. "Boy! What in God's name?" "God's name," Christian laughed, bitter as black coffee. "Funny, coming from a man who sold his creation for a quick buck." The confrontation erupted in the foyer, voices ricocheting off crystal chandeliers. Harlan wheezed denials. Evelyn sobbed apologies that dissolved into excuses. "We had to protect the family, the town, your sister's futures." While from the parlor, his younger sisters, now grown with husbands and babies, peered wide-eyed, the family Bible open on the coffee table like a mocking witness. Christian slapped the folder down, pages fanning out like accusations. "Read it. All of it. The bribes, the forgeries, the way you signed my death warrant to keep the money clean." Harlan's face drained of color, eyes bulging. "Lies. That witch Lydia. She's dead," Christian cut in. "Heart attack last month. Left this for me. Said you'd destroy everything you touch." Gabriel slipped inside then, his hand finding Christian's elbow. A quiet claim. The room froze. Evelyn's gaze darted between them, horror dawning. Who's this?" "Gabriel," Christian said, chin lifting. "My partner. The man who saved me when y'all threw me away." The word partner hung like smoke, choking the air. Harlan's cane clattered to the floor. Get out. Both of you. Abominations under my roof. But Christian didn't budge. He leaned in, voice low and lethal. Call the sheriff if you want. But these documents, they're going to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution tomorrow. Unless you confess. Publicly. Apologize. For everything. The night fractured from there. Harlan collapsed into his armchair, clutching his chest, while Evelyn herded the sisters upstairs, their whispers a hive of panic. Gabriel pulled Christian into the kitchen, the same one where it all began, pouring bourbon with steady hands. You did it, he murmured, forehead to Christian's. First blood. Christian's laugh was hollow. This ain't over. They fight dirty. And they did. By morning, the town buzzed. Harlan's allies, old boys club cronies on the board, rallied, spinning yarns of a vengeful prodigal son, bitter and broken, fabricating scandals to topple his father. Reporters sniffed around, but the Hale's money bought silence. Payoffs to the local paper, threats to Lydia's estate. Christian and Gabriel holed up in a motel on the outskirts. The neon vacancy sign their only company, making love with desperate urgency. Bodies a bulwark against the storm. You're my home, Gabriel whispered into Christian's neck, their breaths sinking like waves. Not this town. Not them. But doubt crept in, insidious as kudzu. Late-night calls from so-called cousins, pleading for mercy. Think of your mama, Chris. The shame, and then, the betrayal sharp as a stiletto. Tommy Reynolds, his high school almost lover, now a deputy with a wife and a mortgage, showed up at the motel with a manila envelope of his own. Harlan sent me, Tommy said. Eyes averted. Said to tell you he's got dirt on your New York life. Drugs? Maybe? Or that pretty boy's immigration papers ain't clean. Christian's blood ran cold. Gabriel stiffened beside him. What the hell? Tommy shrugged, shamefaced. It's how we do things here. Family first. The door clicked shut, leaving Christian staring at photos, grainy shots of him at underground parties, Gabriel at a rally with faded protest signs. Fabrications. Mostly, but enough to smear if leaked. They'll burn us, Christian whispered, crumpling the prints. To save their skins. Gabriel's arms wrapped around him, fierce. Then we burn brighter. Together. The days blurred into a fever dream of stakeouts and strategy sessions. Christian and Gabriel plotting in the motel's threadbare room, takeout containers piling like evidence. Christian fired off emails to investigative journalists he'd connected with through queer networks in the city, folks who'd exposed church scandals and cop corruption without flinching. This is bigger than me, he told Gabriel over lukewarm pizza. The briefcase open between them like a war map. It's about all the kids they shove into closets. All the lies propping up their moral empire. Gabriel nodded, sketching logos for a potential expose site on his tablet, bold graphics of cracked magnolias, roots twisting into chains. We'll make it art, not just ammunition. Let the world see the rot beneath the pretty. But Willow Creek closed ranks, a fortress of faded glory. Church ladies delivered passive-aggressive pies to the motel, notes tucked inside. Repent and return to the fold. Prodigal. Harlan's lawyer, a slick Atlanta import named Caldwell, cornered them at the diner, offering a settlement, hush money, a tearful family reunion photo op, in exchange for the document's destruction. Your father's dying, son, Caldwell drawled, adjusting his cufflinks. Think of the legacy. Christian's fork clattered against his plate. Legacy? You mean the one built on stolen land and silenced voices? Tell him I'll take the confession or the headlines. His choice. Gabriel's foot nudged his under the table, a Morse code of solidarity. But as they drove back, tension simmered. What if they hit us where it hurts? Christian muttered, eyes on the rear view. What if they go after you? Gabriel's grip tightened on the wheel. They try. They learn Queen's boys don't break easy. That night, the storm broke, literal and figurative. Thunder rattled the motel windows as rain lashed the roof, turning the parking lot into a shallow sea. Christian paced, phone buzzing with anonymous texts, slurs, threats, Bible verses twisted into curses. Gabriel pulled him down onto the bed, their kiss a spark in the dark, hands mapping familiar territories with renewed hunger. Feel this? Gabriel breathed, guiding Christian's palm to his heart. That's real. That's us. They moved slow at first, rain a rhythmic counterpoint, then urgent, bodies slick with sweat and storm. Christian arched under Gabriel's touch, gasps swallowed in the crook of his neck, the world narrowing to this, love as defiance, pleasure as power. Afterward, tangled in damp sheets, Christian traced the tattoos on Gabriel's arms, roses for his abuela, fists for Stonewall. I love you, he said, the words a vow heavier than any ring. More than revenge, Gabriel smiled, soft in the lightning flashes. Good. 'Cause revenge might win the battle, but love wins the war. Dawn brought escalation. A courier arrived with a summons. Harlan Hale, suing for defamation, claiming the documents were forgeries planted by disgruntled elements. The town square, usually sleepy with dogwoods and gossip, swarmed with locals, Harlan's flock, waving signs, protect our values. Fake news from Sodom. Christian and Gabriel pushed through, shoulders brushing, to the courthouse steps, where a lone reporter from the AJC waited, notebook poised. Mr. Hale, she called, sharp-eyed. Care to comment on your father's allegations? Christian faced the cameras, briefcase raised like a shield. Allegations? These are facts. My family hid me, declared me dead because I loved who I loved. Now they're hiding crimes that hurt this whole community. Wetlands poisoned, schools underfunded, all for their pockets. I'm not here to destroy, I'm here to heal. Starting with the truth, the crowd murmured, a few nods amid the jeers. Gabriel stood tall beside him, hand in Christian's, a public claim that silenced some, enraged others. As they retreated to the car, a rock shattered the rear window, glass exploding like brittle promises. Go back to your Sin City, a voice bellowed from the shadows. Blood trickled from a cut on Gabriel's cheek, a shard's kiss. Christian's vision tunneled, rage boiling over. Enough, he snarled, slamming the briefcase into the dash. We end this now. They stormed the Hale house that afternoon, uninvited, the rain still drizzling like tears. Evelyn answered, eyes red-rimmed, Harlan propped in the den like a deposed king. His sisters hovered, husbands absent, cowards in pressed khakis. You bring shame on us all, Harlan croaked, oxygen hissing. Parading that man. Gabriel bristled but held, letting Christian lead. Shame? You taught me shame, Daddy. Locked me in the attic for a week after you found those magazines under my bed. Prayed over me like I was possessed. He flung the photos Tommy had delivered onto the coffee table. Now you're playing the same game with my life. With his. Evelyn whimpered, reaching for him. We were scared, baby. The church, the town, they'd never understand. Understand. Christian's voice broke. You could have loved me anyway. Instead, you erased me. Harlan's laugh was a wheeze. Love? This ain't love. It's rebellion. And it'll cost you. The room spun into chaos then. Shouts, sobs, Caldwell bursting in with papers, threatening injunctions. Gabriel tugged Christian back, whispering, Not here. Not like this. But as they retreated, Evelyn slipped a note into Christian's pocket, her fingers ice. Library. Midnight. Come alone. He went, of course. The Willow Creek Library, a squat brick building with sagging shelves of Southern lit and faded encyclopedias, loomed dark under the moon. Evelyn waited in the genealogy room, surrounded by microfiche and dusty ledgers, the very records she'd helped Harlan bury. I can't let him do this, she whispered, sliding a USB drive across the table. More proof. Emails from the developers. Dates. Amounts. Enough to seal it. Christian's throat tightened. Why now? Because you're my son, she said, tears carving tracks through her makeup. And I failed you. But maybe this redeems me. He pocketed the drive, the weight of forgiveness teetering. It doesn't erase it, Mama. But it's a start. She nodded, frail. Tell that young man of yours. I'm sorry. For the hate. Back at the motel, Gabriel cleaned the cut on his cheek with a wet cloth, their eyes locking in the mirror. What did she give you? Ammunition. Christian pulled him close, the USB cool against their skin. And maybe a heart. They made love again, slower this time, mapping scars, Christian's faded belt marks, Gabriel's protest bruises with lips and whispers. We're unbreakable, Gabriel said, as thunder rumbled farewell. But betrayal's shadow lingered. The next morning, the AJC story dropped online. Willow Creek power broker accused of embezzlement by prodigal son. Harlan's empire cracked. Arrest warrants issued. The foundation's donors fleeing like rats. The town fractured. Old allies turning state's evidence for deals. In the fallout, Tommy showed up again, this time alone, face haggard. Harlan confessed, he admitted, handing over a recorded tape, his father's voice, ragged, admitting the forgeries, the funds, the cover-up of Christian's disappearance. Said to give you this. Clean slate, or something. Christian played it. Harlan's words a dirge. I was wrong, boy. About you. About everything. Gabriel watched, arm around Christian's waist. What now? Forgive, Christian echoed, uncertain. The answer came in fragments. A call from his sister, begging for advice on testifying. Evelyn's daily texts, tentative olive branches, Harlan's hospice bed, where Christian sat one final afternoon, holding a hand grown thin. I love you, son, the old man rasped, eyes wet. Always did. Feared losing you to them. To me, Christian corrected gently. To who I am. Harlan nodded, spent. Go live it. Proud. He died at dusk. the room filling with the scent of magnolias from the garden. Christian wept then, not for the man, but for the boy who'd craved his pride. The funeral was a circus of hypocrisy. Willow Creek's elite in black silk and crocodile tears. Eulogies painting Harlan Hale as a saint felled by modern woes. Christian stood at the back with Gabriel, their hands linked defiantly, drawing stares like spotlights. Whispers slithered. "That's the one." Brought the devil in. But Evelyn caught his eye from the front pew, her nod a quiet anchor. After the graveside prayers, dirt clotting onto polished oak, she pulled him aside, away from the receiving line. "The house is yours now," she said, pressing keys into his palm. "Half the estate, after taxes and settlements. Your sisters agree. No strings." Christian stared at the fob, heavy with history. "Mama, I don't want it." "The walls. They echo." She smiled sadly, patting his cheek. "Then sell it. Burn it. But no, it's not poisoned anymore. We can start over. You, me, even." Gabriel. Her voice hitched on the name, but her eyes held warmth, tentative. Gabriel, ever the bridge, stepped forward. "Mrs. Hail Evelyn, we'd like that. Coffee sometime? Neutral ground. Atlanta, maybe." She nodded, tears brimming. "I'd love that." They drove north that evening, the sedan cutting through twilight, windows down to let the wind scour away the magnolia musk. Christian's phone buzzed nonstop. Interview requests from CNN, offers from publishers for his story. The gay son who toppled a dynasty. He silenced it, turning to Gabriel instead. "What if we disappear? Real this time. Not hiding, but free. Vermont, some cabin in the woods. You designing, me writing." Gabriel grinned, hand on Christian's knee. "As long as there's snow for snowball fights and a bed for making up after." Laughter bubbled up, easing the knot in Christian's chest. "But Freedom's Road has potholes." Back in Brooklyn, the apartment felt smaller, the victory hollow. Nightmares returned, Harlan's belt, the attic's darkness, Tommy's averted eyes. Gabriel held him through them, but cracks showed. Arguments over unpacked boxes, Christian's withdrawal into freelance gigs, Gabriel's late nights at the studio masking worry. "You're grieving," Gabriel said one evening, over cold Thai takeout. "Not just him. The what-ifs." Christian poked at his pad thai, fork tines scraping porcelain. "Yeah. What if I'd stayed, fought from inside? Or what if I'd never come back? Let the lies rot in peace." Gabriel reached across, thumb stroking his wrist. "You chose truth. That's brave as hell. But bravery don't mean you gotta carry it alone." The turning point came unbidden, in the form of a package from Willow Creek. Evelyn's handwritten journal, pages filled with her confessions. Guilt over the prayers that turned to pleas, recipes scrawled beside regrets. A pressed magnolia from Christian's prom corsage. Tucked inside, a letter. "Forgive yourself. To, baby." That's the hardest part. Christian read it aloud to Gabriel by candlelight, voice cracking on the tender bits. "She saw me." Finally, Gabriel pulled him into his lap, arms a fortress. "We all see you. The man who came back from the dead." Their kiss deepened, hungry for reconnection, clothes shedding like old skins. Gabriel's hands roamed reverent, mapping the man he'd fallen for anew, stronger, scarred, but whole. Christian surrendered, gasps turning to moans, their rhythm a dance of rediscovery. "I need you," he whispered, nails digging into Gabriel's back. Always, in the afterglow, plans solidified. They sold the apartment, pocketed the Hale windfall after donating chunks to queer youth shelters and wetland restoration. Vermont called a fixer-upper in the Green Mountains, creaky floors and a view of endless pines. Christian enrolled in an MFA program at Middlebury, penning essays that wove his story into broader tapestries of Southern queer survival. Gabriel's designs bloomed, commissioned murals for pride centers, his style infused with magnolia motifs reclaimed. But Willow Creek's ghost lingered. A month in, Tommy Reynolds emailed, out of the blue, from a personal account. "Wife left. Town knows why now. Thinking of NYC. Advice." Christian stared at the screen, Gabriel peering over his shoulder. "Karma's a bitch," Gabriel quipped. "Or a teacher," Christian typed back. "Come visit. We'll show you the ropes." No judgments. Tommy arrived in spring, hollow-cheeked but hopeful, crashing on their couch for a week. Awkward coffees turned to bar crawls in Burlington, where he met a barista with a lip ring and a laugh like thunder. "Thanks, man," he said one night, clapping Christian's shoulder. "For not hating me." "Hate's too heavy," Christian replied. "Besides, we're all just trying to rewrite our endings." Evelyn visited that summer, tentative at first, fussing over the garden, baking cornbread that filled the cabin with home. Gabriel charmed her with stories of his abuelita's kitchen witchcraft, and by week's end, she was hugging them both goodbye, promising monthly calls. "My boys," she called them, the words a balm. Yet conflict brewed anew, subtle as autumn fog. Christian's writing gained traction, a memoir deal from a major house, readings in Boston and D.C. Applause swelled, but so did the scrutiny, trolls dredging his past, accusing him of opportunism, cashing in on Daddy's corpse. One night, after a scathing review labeled him a vengeful fairy tale, Christian shattered a mug against the wall, shards flying like accusations. Gabriel swept them up silently, then pulled him outside to the porch swing, stars pricking the ink-black sky. "This world's gonna poke, Chris. Always. But look up. That's bigger." Christian leaned into him, the swing creaking like a heartbeat. "How do you stay so steady?" "'Cause I got you," Gabriel said simply. "And faith. Not the Bible-thumping kind, the kind that says love outlasts the noise." They rocked in silence, hands entwined, the mountains a silent witness. Later, in bed, Christian initiated, slow and worshipful, lips tracing Gabriel's collarbone, hips grinding with intent. "Let me show you," he murmured, taking Gabriel deep, their moans mingling with the wind. It was affirmation, absolution, love as the ultimate rebellion. Summer faded into fall, leaves carpeting the yard in crimson and gold. Christian's book tour loomed, a whirlwind of spotlights and signings. Gabriel saw him off at the airport, kiss lingering. "Come back to me," he teased. "Always," Christian promised, boarding with a lightness he hadn't known. But tours test foundations. In Atlanta, irony's cruel joke, Christian fielded questions laced with barbs. "Did you really forgive them?" Panelist, a conservative pundit in disguise, sneered. "Sounds like a hallmark ending to a very un-hallmark life." Christian's smile didn't waver. "Forgiveness isn't tidy. It's messy, like family, like love. But it's the only way forward. Offstage, alone in his hotel, doubt gnawed. He called Gabriel, voice thick. Miss you. Feels like I'm chasing ghosts again. Ghosts are just stories we haven't finished, Gabriel soothed. Write yours with me. The call ended with laughter. Plans for a post-tour escape to Provincetown. But en route to his next stop, Christian's phone lit up. Evelyn, frantic. Your sister's husband, he's contesting the will. Says the documents were coerced. Caldwell's back. Stirring mud. Rage flared. Old and familiar. Christian cut the tour short, flying straight to Willow Creek. Gabriel meeting him there, a red-eye solidarity. The lawyer's office reeked of stale cigars and entitlement. Caldwell smirking across the desk. Family drama, Mr. Hale. Your brother-in-law claims emotional duress. Wants his cut. Christian's sister, pale and pregnant, twisted her hands. I didn't know, Chris. He just worries about the baby. Gabriel's hand on Christian's steadied him. Duress? Like the kind Harlan put us through. He slid the USB across. Or this irrefutable logs. Back off. Or the feds get the full archive. Caldwell blanched. Folding. The brother-in-law slunk away, tail between legs. Victory. But Pyrrhic, Christian's sister, wept apologies. The rift mending slow. Back in Vermont, snow blanketed the cabin, a hush over the hills. They spent Christmas Eve by the fire, Evelyn joining via video, her tree twinkling behind. To new beginnings, she toasted, glass raised. To us, Gabriel added, kissing Christian's temple. Winter deepened, the cabin a cocoon against the cold. But Christian's memoir, erased, a southern reckoning, hit shelves like a thunderclap. Bestseller lists, Oprah's book club whispers, podcasts dissecting every chapter. He became a voice, TED Talks on queer invisibility, op-eds in The Atlantic on Southern hypocrisy. Gabriel beamed from the sidelines, his own career surging, a solo exhibit in Manhattan, Roots and Revolutions, blending Hale magnolias with Ortiz palms. Yet success bred shadows. Paparazzi staked out the cabin, drones buzzing like vultures. An ex from Christian's early NYC days resurfaced, spilling petty tea to tabloids. He was wild, broken, lies, amplified online, twisted into fraudulent icon. Gabriel fielded the hate mail, deleting death threats with grim efficiency. But one night, after a viral thread accused Christian of profiting off trauma, he snapped. This ain't living, Gabriel said, pacing the kitchen, snow swirling outside. We're exposed. Again, Christian pulled him close, scent of pine and paint on his skin. It's not the same. We're not hiding. We're fighting. Fighting with what? Lawyers? PR spins. Gabriel's eyes flashed, hurt beneath the anger. I signed up for us. Not this circus. The words landed like a slap, silence stretching taut. Christian's chest ached. Echoes of his father's rages. The addict's isolation. You think I asked for this? The book was catharsis, not a ticket to hell. Gabriel deflated, sinking into a chair. I know. I'm scared, Chris. Of losing you to it all. The admission cracked them open. They talked till dawn, raw and unfiltered. Gabriel's immigrant fears resurfacing. The dread of deportation whispers in MAGA echoes. Christian's imposter syndrome. The boy from Willow Creek still whispering he's unworthy. By firelight, apologies flowed, hands linking, bodies seeking solace. Christian knelt between Gabriel's legs, mouth worshipful, drawing gasps that rebuilt bridges. "You're my anchor," he murmured against warm skin, taking him to the edge and beyond. In the quiet after, Gabriel stroked his hair. "Promise me we balance this. No more solo flights. Promise." Spring thawed the tensions, but betrayal struck from within. Evelyn called mid-April, voice quavering, Caldwell's at it again. Dug up old church records, claiming your lifestyle voids the inheritance morally. Your sisters. They're wavering, Christian's blood iced. Wavering? After everything. He flew south alone, Gabriel's schedule ironclad, landing in Atlanta with fire in his veins. Willow Creek simmered with spring blooms, but the air crackled. At the family lawyer's neutral ground now, his sisters waited, faces drawn. "It's not us," the elder pleaded. "He threatened our kids' schools, the club memberships. Pressure, Chris. And you fold." Christian's voice rose, echoing off oak panels. "Like Daddy did to me?" Evelyn burst in then, disheveled, waving a folder. "I have countermeasures. Donations records showing Harlan's laundering went to anti-gay groups. Leverage." The room spun into negotiation. Caldwell cornered, sisters recommitting, Evelyn's steel surprising them all. "No more," she declared. "My son lives free, or none of us do." By evening, papers signed, the estate secured. Christian hugged his mother fierce, whispering, "You're braver than I thought." She laughed wetly. "Learned from you, baby." He returned to Vermont changed, the wind bittersweet. Gabriel greeted him at the door, takeout and a bottle of rum waiting. "How'd it go?" "Family's a battlefield," Christian said, collapsing into his arms. "But we held the line." They celebrated slow, dinner by candlelight, stories swapped, laughter healing fractures. Gabriel's fingers danced under the table, teasing, until Christian hauled him upstairs, their lovemaking playful yet profound, positions shifting like seasons, peaks crashing like waves. "Mine," Christian growled, pinning Gabriel's wrists, eliciting a moan that vibrated through them both. Summer brought bloom. The cabin garden flourished under Evelyn's remote guidance, tomatoes ripening red as redemption. Christian's book tour wrapped with a Willow Creek signing. The library packed, faces a mosaic of curiosity and contrition. Tommy showed, now with his barista boyfriend, clapping loudest. "Proud of you, man." Even Caldwell slunk in, tail between legs, buying a copy with a mumbled "well played." Gabriel manned the table, signing prints of his exhibit catalog, their booth a tandem of triumphs. Afterward, under starlit oaks, Christian proposed not with a ring, but a key to a Brooklyn brownstone they'd eyed, a forever anchor. City and country. Everywhere. Gabriel's yes was a kiss that tasted of forever. But autumn winds carried omens. Gabriel's exhibit tour demanded months abroad, Berlin, Mexico City, his queer art resonating global. 3 months, he promised at the airport, duffel slung. Then we're beach-bound. Keys await. Christian nodded, throat tight. Call every night. The separation stretched souls. Emails flew poetic. Video calls steamy. Gabriel's hotel room's a backdrop to whispered fantasies. Hands roaming screens like ghosts. But distance amplifies doubts. Christian buried in revisions for a sequel. Evelyn's health dipping a fall. Broken hip. Sister's texts cooling to obligatory. One night, buzzed on Vermont cider, Christian scrolled old photos, Harlan's stern gaze. The attic key. A voicemail from an unknown Georgia number. Tommy. Voice slurred. Heard Gabs in Mexico. Watch your back, Chris. Towns talking. Some ex-cop buddy of your old man. Sniffing around your book deal. Leverage for a lawsuit. Paranoia bloomed. Christian fired off warnings, but spotty Wi-Fi swallowed them. Days later, a package arrived. Anonymous, postmarked Savannah. Inside, photocopies of Gabriel's green card application. Flagged, queried, with notes scrawled. Fraud? Investigate. A cover letter. Typed cold. End the book. Or he deports. Terror clawed. Christian booked the first flight south. Heart pounding. Mexico City was chaos. Tequila haze. Murals alive. But Gabriel answered his frantic knocks at the Gallery Hotel. Towel-clad from a shower. Chris? What? They're after you. Christian thrust the papers forward, collapsing into his arms. To hurt me. Gabriel scanned them, fury etching his face. Bastards. But this? Bluff. My papers are clean. They hold up. Strategizing, lawyers looped in. Evelyn rallying sisters for affidavits. Lovemaking that night was fierce. Christian topping with desperate possession. Gabriel's cries a catharsis. Bodies slamming like judgments. No one touches us, Gabriel panted. Flipping them. Driving deep. Never. Morning brought clarity. The threat traced to a disgruntled ex-board member. Harlan's ghost echoing. A quick injunction quashed it. But the scare lingered. A reminder of fragility. Back home, snow dusting early, they decided expand the family. Not blood, but chosen, mentoring queer teens via Christian's foundation, hosting art retreats with Gabriel's touch. Evelyn relocated north, cottage nearby, her cornbread a staple at gatherings. One crisp evening, fire crackling, Christian knelt again, this time with a ring, simple platinum etched with magnolias and palms. Marry me. Not despite the mess, but with it. Gabriel's laugh was joy incarnate. Hell yes, the wedding was a tapestry of triumphs. June in the Green Mountains, under a canopy of wildflowers and whispered vows. No church too fraught, but a clearing ringed by pines, chairs filled with Evelyn beaming front row, sisters with husbands thawed, Tommy and his partner toasting with craft IPAs, even a few Willow Creek holdouts nodding approval. Gabriel's family flew in, Abuelita in her Sunday best, crossing herself before hugging Christian fierce. You make him shine. Mijo. Officiants were two. A queer rabbi from Burlington and a drag queen elder from the city, blending blessings with shade. Christian, in a linen suit the color of dawn, took Gabriel's hands, calloused from brushes, warm as home. I vow to love your fire, your quiet, the man who pulled me from the grave. Gabriel, eyes like polished onyx, grinned. And I vow to design our chaos into beauty. Every scar a masterpiece. Rings exchanged. Kiss ceiling, cheers erupted. Confetti of petals raining. The reception sprawled. Food trucks slinging Dominican fusion and Southern soul. A playlist from Bad Bunny to Billie Holiday. Dances till moonrise. Evelyn pulled Christian aside mid-waltz. Silver hair glowing. Your daddy'd be proud. In his way, Christian squeezed her hand. He is. Somewhere. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Dune walks hand in hand. Whale watches where breaches mirrored their leaps. Nights tangled in beachfront sheets. Ocean roar underscoring moans. Gabriel's mouth a revelation. Christian's thrusts a promise. Forever starts now, Gabriel gasped, arching under him. Life post-vows deepened roots. Christian's sequel, reclaimed, delved forgiveness's thorns, hitting charts higher. Gabriel's murals graced pride flags worldwide, commissions funding scholarships for Southern queer artists. The foundation grew Hale Ortiz House, a haven in Atlanta for at-risk youth. Evelyn volunteering stories of her prodigal's return. But humanity's arc bends slow. Willow Creek simmered resentment. A church splintered. Harlan's old flock decrying the Hale curse. Threats trickled, burned effigies. Slashed tires at the foundation. But community swelled in response. Allies marching. Donations surging. One fall. A crisis tested. A teen mentee. Jamie, 17. Outed and ousted like young Christian. Arrived at their door. Backpack clutched. Eyes haunted. They said I'm dead to them. Gabriel brewed tea. Christian shared his attic scars. They housed him through winter. Jamie blooming art classes. Therapy. A scholarship to Pratt. His coming out party, months later, was foundation-wide. Cakes iced rainbow. Toasts to survival. Evelyn's health waned, cancer, ironic echo, but she fought gentle, surrounded by her boys and grandnieces. On her porch swing, Vermont breeze stirring, she gripped their hands. I was blind, but now I see love's face. She passed at dawn, magnolias blooming improbable. Her funeral, back in Willow Creek, was reclamation, Christian's eulogy, a mother's grace, drawing tears and handshakes from former foes. The town shifted, slow, a pride flag on the library, wetlands preserved in Harlan's name, twisted to redemption. Years layered, Jamie's graduation, their first adoption papers for a sibling pair from the program, Little Theo and Lena, chaos and cuddles. Christian's TED Talk went mythic. Gabriel's documentary on queer Southerners netting an Oscar nod. They mentored, built, loved, scars faded but honored, like tattoos under sleeves. One anniversary, cabin firelit, kids asleep upstairs. Christian pulled Gabriel to the rug. Remember the motel? Rain and rage. Gabriel chuckled, shedding shirts. How could I forget? You, briefcase warrior. Their lovemaking was seasoned, knowing, tender, with edges of wild. Christian rode him slow, eyes locked, whispers weaving vows anew. You saved me. We saved each other, Gabriel corrected. Hips bucking, release crashing shared. In quiet after, stars through skylight, Christian traced Gabriel's ring. No more hiding. No more ruins. Gabriel smiled, sleepy. Just us. Building heaven from the ashes. And so they did, a life human, flawed, luminous. Willow Creek's shadow receded, not erased but integrated, a cautionary bloom in their garden. Love, turned out, wasn't the absence of betrayal or storm, but the choice to return, documents in hand or heart, and say, I'm here. Still, the end? No beginnings, endless as American roads, winding toward light.